Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show. Today is the first interview which we're doing 20 questions with Dave and George from Arduin. Emperor's Choice. Wait, it's
Nice.
over
Yeah, you got it. You're good. So, ladies and gentlemen, folks out there in TV land, below us we have George DeRosa and Dave. We are going to rattle through a bunch of questions, and then we'll have some time afterwards for some things that just come up, what have you. And we won't be bringing anybody into the stream tonight. I'm sure you guys can figure out why this is all about George and Dave tonight and Arduin. If you guys have any questions, throw them up in the chat section, and we will get to them at the first opportunity. So, Jackie, ready for question number one?
All right, question one. How did you discover role-playing games?
Well, I got roped into them. We moved when I was a kid. We moved from one town to the next, and you just don't know anybody, and then you get a friend, and then somewhere along the line, I got roped into the first game box set of D&D, the one with the dragon on the cover, the blue and white box, and that's kind of how it started for me. Yeah, that's the one. Or yeah, blue. So it was just kind of like, hey, try this out. I'm like, I don't even any idea what this even is. So when I was in, I don't know, in the early
You don't
80s,
age yourself if you don't want.
that was a new game at that time, I think.
Yeah.
It certainly was.
Yeah. Mine is actually pretty similar. I was introduced back in sixth grade. A couple friends, when I used to live in Rochester, Fritz and Kevin, introduced me to this Dungeons and Dragons. We used to play some board games back in the day. A lot of Avalon Hill, Submarine, Tactics 2, some of the games, Magic Realm. And all of a sudden they introduced me to Dungeons and Dragons. And again, the same box you just showed, Shadow. Same thing, the old D&D beginning box. And that started, I was like, wow, what's this? And then I got hooked, and that was that. That was the one that started it all.
Yeah, but me personally, it was actually AD&D. No, I think it was actually the Brown books in '79, and then I went from that to AD&D, and then back to the basic box, and we affectionately called it Kitty D&D, having actually played AD&D. It's like, this is for like kids. We're not. I was kind of bummed that after I went through, I'm like, what, third level? And so we went back to AD&D, and I still run AD&D games now, and I'm going to be in an AD&D game tomorrow night with Bloodworth from Unscripted Unchained. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him on YouTube, but he's a really cool guy. He does a lot of cool stuff, and I'm actually looking forward to that game tomorrow because I'm about this far away from 8th level magic user. fun stuff.
Yeah,
So
hopefully you don't die.
I came really, really close a couple of times, but now I'm using my polymorph self spell to shape into a black dragon every now and then, and that's keeping the bad guys away. So, question number two: what do you guys like most about RPGs compared to other games?
I think for me, RPG is more about the story and the camaraderie shared when you do the story and you develop the story. You're not constrained by the board game or whatever else you're doing. You're creating the story. You're basically creating a movie script.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it's similar to that, where for me it was a lot about the imagination, that you could do so much with it. And it was that aspect of, it's like I'm in a movie, but I'm directing what's going to happen. It isn't a preset. It's determined by my actions, by my friends. And it's an imagination thing too, where it's beyond the norm. Anything you can imagine can happen in there. You can go beyond your normal life and try something just completely out of this world. So that's where the allure was, with the imaginative and again, being in an open script movie, I guess would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, that people who aren't familiar with the games and stuff might come out and mock it out, but unless you try it and then you sit there and experience that, and then you're like, man, my mind is, expanding,
How about you, Sport?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, the exact same reason.
Okay, because he's playing a game infrequently with some schoolmates, and I couldn't be happier for him. That I have so many memories tied up with my original friends. Some of them I still hang out with. A lot of them have passed away or moved away or faded away. But back in the beginning, it was so different than anything else, and the absolute unlimited potential and possibilities were just unlike anything else. Even the video games of the time just couldn't suck you in and get you into the role of that character. And oh man, good times.
I think it still holds the test of time.
Yeah,
exactly. This could have easily faded away and become just something else. And I don't think many people really think just how much it influenced everything that maybe not everything, but so many things have been influenced from the original Dungeons and Dragons to today, from video games and movies and the way books are written now. So many things have become better or gained some added element because of good old-fashioned role-playing games.
I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely. Though I don't think it would really be possible for it to fade away. It would always exist in some form.
Yeah.
Obviously, certain games could have and will fade away, but overall, the genre, there will always be people playing games similar, same premise. Just, certain systems will fall out, but that doesn't mean that it'll ever fade away as a whole, because it never will.
And what's happened, it's actually gotten larger and larger. I've never seen it this popular, which is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so mainstream now.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that's a good or bad thing, we will just have to wait and see. So you ready for number 3, bud?
Yes. So don't worry about it. So what was gaming like in the beginning for you?
I didn't get it. I got invited to the first game and I'm like, what do you mean there's no board? I just don't get it. What's a spell? And it took me a little bit. I'm a little slow. And then eventually I got it and I'm like, this is kind of cool. You get to do stuff that you can't do anywhere else, and experience something that you will never experience and have a unforgettable experience too. Something that you'll carry on forever. So I think it was, initially it was like, I have no idea what the hell I've been roped into. And then it turned into something like, wow, my mind is just blown,
Yeah, it was, for myself, it was just a little bit of a learning curve, but I don't know, I got into it pretty quick, understanding, the different elements, and it just, I'm not a good actor, so a lot of the actual role play, you really get into the character, but when you're first into it, you do your best. A lot of it initially, I think, was dealing with the numbers, dealing with, what do I do to survive, and how do I, like Dave said, how do I operate? What is it to attack, to cast a spell? Learning that there's the possibilities or anything you can think of. That was hard to grasp of, because it's like, well, what are the rules? What are the parameters, like in a board game? But there are none. You're completely open to it. So it just took me, I caught on pretty quick, but it took me a little bit to really understand how vast it was, that you have pretty much any option in the game, which again, is its strength, is the open possibilities with the role play game.
You know, to kind of piggyback on what George said too, is kind of you start to play and you're like, why am I playing this? I don't want to do this. And then you start realizing, wow, I really do want to do this. I didn't even know it because I didn't even know there was such a thing. And then next thing you know it, you're part of this story.
Yeah. I mean, it's like most games, like, oh, there's a specific goal laid out for you and win-lose scenarios. But, I mean, a lot of times there's situations where some people could be like, oh, I don't know, like, what I'm supposed to do, where I need to go. Like, yeah, you typically decide that yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a experience you just don't realize you maybe needed or wanted or understood, at the time when you first got in, or for me anyway.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt with Mark. Mark's genre mixer is a good friend of ours, and he's got an absolutely phenomenal question. What was the driving force for you guys wanting to bring Arduin back to the forefront? I'm kind of jealous that I didn't think of this one myself.
Well, that's a story from way in the beginning. We when we played our role play games, when Dave and I got together here and started playing and had our groups, Arduin was always a part of it. So Dave had found one of the first books, and from there, the Lost Grimoire #4, and then they caught on like wildfire for him. And then for me, we started getting the other books, and we introduced all of Arduin that we could find into our games. So we enjoyed it so much that when we decided to do a business back in 1998, and we started mostly as miniatures, was initially our foray, was miniatures and so forth. We were like, you know what? It'd be great to have like a role play game to go along with what we do. And the first thing that came to mind, of course, was Arduin. So Dave did some research, found Jim Mathis, who was the owner of the time of Grimoire Games, and owned the rights to Arduin. And Dave started.
No easy feat back then either.
Yeah, it was difficult, but Dave tracked him down and was able to start talking to him. And lo and behold, we were able to purchase Arduin. We made the arrangement, and so for us, it was something that we remembered from when we used to play, in middle school and high school and throughout. And so it was such a passion then that when we got into the business end, we decided, you know what, we want to bring that back. And lo and behold, luckily, somehow, like I said, Dave was able to track Jim Mathis down. We were able to purchase it and, take something from our childhood and bring it to the forefront of the business. And I'm so happy that we did do it, because Arduin has such a legacy. It's just as old as D&D.
And we never did it really for the legacy. It was just, it gave so much to us that it was like, how do you not keep this alive? Like, it gave us something. And I remember distinctly our conversations were back even when was it Wizards or whoever it was that bought D&D at the time? The people who did Magic, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast.
And it was, I'd rather buy Arduin than D&D. It just, that was both of our statements.
Mm-hmm. I kind of agree. Arduin is such an absolutely rich and beautiful, wondrous, deadly world with so many memories for me and my oldest players that I'm really grateful that you guys brought it back. I'm a little jealous that I couldn't have got it out from under you guys, but it wasn't really a thought. I was working on something else at the time, and like I was telling Dave earlier, and I've said it before, Arduin has always been my secret weapon. There's so many things I can pull from Arduin into other games, and it's always going to be, on my wall or in my heart or what have you. It's just, for those of you who are watching this and don't know or see this later, it has so many so many things, so many facets to it that make it more unique than Greyhawk or any other world I can think of. And I just wish you guys the absolute best of luck. Lauren Watkins is wondering if you guys have a target date for the next release.
We do. I'm going to go over here and let yours say that.
We've been doing quite a bit of work in-house on many projects, including the new Arduin system. And we initially had a target for the end of next year was the target date to do our first big Kickstarter with the core books. We're going to try to reevaluate that early next year because we have to see where in the development cycle we are with the system. We have play testing, real rigid play testing that still has to be done. And it's been quite a bit of work taking all the books, all that information in Arduin, which is just a mountain of information, and making something new. So I'm not sure, not trying to avoid the question, but our target date again was about a year or so from now. We're not sure if we're going to be able to hit that. We won't know until next year, a few months in, until we see where we really are at with everything to make a determination. So
George is specifically referring to the new system. There is an interim product, we call it, and I'll let him finish with that.
Yeah, we haven't announced it yet, but we're going to be putting up a post within about a week or so here on our website. We are coming out with an interim product. Lancer's Rest was the last dungeon penned by Dave Hargrave, and we have fully developed it. It is 99% done. It's going to go through final editing and layout, and that should be ready to go by the end of the year. Now, we did advertise that we were coming out with it this year. It's actually going to be coming out next year. And what we're planning to do, and again, we're going to announce this. We're planning to do that with the original 4 dungeons. What we want to do is come out with the original 4 dungeons again with the cards, in old school Arduin style, and come out with Lancer's Rest, both at the same time. The reason being is the 4 original dungeons were the beginning. They were the first initial dungeons way back at the beginning. And Lancer's Rest was the last pen dungeon by Dave Hargrave before he passed away. So we felt to couple the beginning with the end and put it out as an old school release, done in a generic format that you can use for any type of OSR product, any type of D&D. So we're looking at next year, we're going to do a Kickstarter, our first one ever, for the 4 modules in Lancer's Rest. Along with that, we're trying to do, again, we're still in the initial development phases. There's probably going to be a 5th booklet with that, which will have monsters and treasures and some things like that, maybe some spells to go along with the modules, which have a lot of, unique Arduin treasures and monsters and spells.
Yeah, and they're not fully fleshed out in the original dungeons. So the question was, would we attach them per book or just do a separate book? And I think we decided it would be better to have a separate book, because then you can have 2 books open at once, and you could have everything in one reference book for items and monsters, and you'll just get the original descriptions from the trilogy, not anything that maybe we would expand upon or whatnot. But it'll be fully original, and you'll have enough in there to cover all 4 modules, and
correct.
Should make life a little easier, because sometimes there wasn't a description, and the assumption was that you had the trilogy at the time.
Our good friend Bo asked and is wondering, for brand new people, what is Arduin?
Well, for brand new people, Arduin, which, like I said, we're doing a new system, will be its own role play game. What Arduin has been for the last 30 plus years, 30, 40 years actually at this point, has been a supplement to any type of D&D out there. You can use it in anything. I know there's another question there, Shadow, about the what games can it be used, or the style games. It can be ported into any Labyrinth lore. Labyrinth lore. I know they have Osric, Old School Essentials, the Swords and Wizardries. It's very akin to First Edition or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so you can port it in any way you want. It has all the basics like AC, hit dice, dexterity, so forth, so on. And what makes Arduin unique is the richness in the background, the story, the modules. Dave Hargrave was a master of coming up with ideas in different environments, unique creatures, unique settings. You read some of the Arduin books, one of the grimoires, any of them, read just some of the descriptions of metals, of personalities, of spells, of just different concepts. And then it opens up your imagination for a lot of different things. What a lot of people don't realize with Arduin is that it's the wellspring that, I'm just going to say it, that all the rest of RPG gaming came from. And the reason I say that boldly like that is all these new concepts, anything you see now in games or what they're trying to do, was done in Arduin 30, 40 years ago. There's nothing new to it. The mixing of sci-fi, fantasy, historical, Western, any genre, that was being done back in the day with Dave Hargrave. There was all these unique things, parallel worlds, gates, all these types of concepts were already there. Insect creatures, deodants, all types of different races and cultures was done 30, 40 years ago. It just was never known. Arduin was like the underground. It was that
exactly
cool underground of the role play industry. D&D was more of the corporate, the thing. Arduin was the underground, cool stuff that you would find and go, oh, wow, what a treasure.
Yeah, it explored the dark areas of too, whether it was drugs, poisons, gangs,
cannibalism,
liquor.
Arduin wasn't scared to hit all the things.
Slavery. There was so many, things now that would just make people's heads explode,
correct.
Thinking about running that. Just and let's not forget the original critical hit and fumble. Oh. That was Arduin. Nobody else did that before them. And today it's like, just one of the most popular rules out there. And it came from Arduin. So many things, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So many things came from Arduin. Exactly, Shadow. There was just, there's nothing anybody can, I have not found anything in the RPG industry right now that anyone can come to me with or show me that I can't point right almost direct back to Arduin. Nothing. There's nothing new that phases me. And I know this is very bold to say, but nothing. It's like, yeah, that was 30, 40 years ago in Arduin.
Absolutely.
And that's just the truth. That's just the absolute truth. It's not well known. It's like a lot of people hear about it, and it's something that they've heard about way back, that it's some role play system from the West Coast.
That's why I always called it my secret weapon, because it was so underground and so, just like, independent, sort of feel to it that just, the way the books were presented and just the homey feel it had to it that really let you know that this was one guy's baby, and he was, sharing it with us all. And it was just absolutely so rich. And, even today you pull stuff out of it, the monsters, the treasure, the spells, it's going to throw your players for a loop. They're not going to know what to think. I mean, I always say, you guys, you're in a dungeon, you pop open a door, and you're face to face with a bunch of sharks flying at you. What players are going to know how to deal with that? That's just, they're going to run for the hills. It's just, and they're not the most high hit pointed statted monsters out there, but it's just what sharks?
Yeah,
it's just completely out there.
Correct.
Mark again wants to know, I grew up in the Midwest during the 80s, and Arduin flew under his radar. Everything that Shadow has shared shows on what a great system. Thank you, Mark. I'm telling you guys, if
and that's the whole thing. And to Mark's point where he talks about it, yes, Shadow, thank you. The setting is awesome, and the system that Arduin has, it was never a fully developed system, because for Dave Hargrave, his grimoires were his ideas, and his campaign developed as he went. He'd run campaigns, come up with new concepts, new ideas, and that's why things would change as you went. So it was never a cohesive idea. They did come out with Arduin 2, the complete Arduin, back in like the early 90s. Unfortunately, it went up against Magic the Gathering just when all that was taken off, so it had no chance. And then we came out with Arduin Eternal, oh my God, about what are we saying, Dave, about 10 years ago, which was way too crunchy. It was like Rollmaster times 10. So the system, yeah, I know, it's our own product, but it's the truth. But the setting is what makes it the best. The idea, I tell people, you know what? Pick up one of the books, $15 for one grimoire, any grimoire, doesn't matter. Read it. I guarantee you will find ideas and things in there. You'll be like, oh my God, this is really cool. Now, some of the stuff, like I said, it has been mined, and Arduin a lot's been taken from it. So you might see concepts that are already being done. But back in the day, those concepts didn't exist. They were brand new. They were absolutely brand new. And I know someone in the comments there talked about 3.5. Yes, Jonathan Tweet, who was the main designer for D&D 3.5, if you look at some of his tweets, or I think his blog, he called the Arduin Grimoire the coolest RPG book ever, and said it was an inspiration. If you look at 3.5, you know what they did? Arduin had guns, cannons, modern weapons, 17th century cannons from ships, all detailed out to use. Guess what they did in 3.5? That's exactly what they did. All of a sudden, for the first time ever, D&D has guns detailed out, cannons, flamethrowers, law rockets. That was in Arduin, again, 30, 40 years ago. Dave Hargrave did it. Dave Hargrave, by the way, just a quick interjection, was an Army photographer during the Vietnam War. I believe he did a tour of 6 years, or 3 tours, I think, if it's a year or 2 years apiece. But took a lot of his combat experience of what he saw, and he melded that into Arduin also. But what I'm saying is Jonathan Tweet, he talked about Arduin. We talked to him at one point, and he said how much the Arduin material was an inspiration for a lot of the things that they did in that particular era of D&D. But yeah, if you can find it, Jonathan Tweet, that was a big deal back in the day for us, where he said Arduin Grimoire, the coolest RPG book ever.
And absolutely correct. One time I will agree with Wizards of the Coast.
So before
number 4. Okay.
I'm sorry. I know.
I've been wanting to interject here for a while.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
The idea, not necessarily the idea, the fact that Arduin, it's not going to say it's one of the oldest, but obviously it isn't. But compared to the stuff that's out now taking from it, most people don't know what Arduin is. Yet Arduin has inspired the majority of what's coming out now, which one is something that happens very often, where something exists and then people take from it, and then everyone who takes from it becomes like this famous thing. but the original thing, which inspired pretty much all of it, stays relatively hidden.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It kind of reminds me of like H.P. Lovecraft's success. During his life, he struggled and suffered, and you know, he was a wonderful guy for the most part. But then when he was gone, his works became a household word. There's stuffed animals of Cthulhu. He would have never imagined that there'd be, there'd be Cthulhu teddy bears on beds all over the planet now. And that's exactly what's happening with Arduin, except a little bit different, but at the same time you can see the parallels. It's you guys are actually you guys are truly blessed to get to be able to work on this project and to keep it alive. I'm like I've always said, if there's anything the two of us can do, you guys know the number, just reach out and whatever it is, just let us know.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, kind of in line with what you guys were all just talking about too. I mean, there is a whole lot of mapping going on right now. George doesn't even know about the continental map. I'm working on a redo of the Arduin country map and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I'm gonna have to find more room on my walls because I've got the originals right there.
Oh yeah, that's we took a big chance on printing that one too. So that was I don't even know if we could find a printer that can find that paper anymore. So that was a big roll of the dice because the printer said we can't guarantee that. If it comes out like crap, you just lost all your money. And we're like, nope, that's the paper. We couldn't even get a test run. That's how, because they had to order all the paper. And we're like, we're going for it.
I'm glad I got 2 copies then.
Yeah, Dave has a lot on the works. We've kind of tried to divide and conquer because there's just so much going on that we're trying to do. And we have a ton of material. Dave Hargrave left a plethora of stuff. We have 100 plus, 150 plus dungeons that he did. Thousands of item cards that he did in shoe boxes. I mean, it's a ton of material from this guy's life, character sheets. Just he did a lot. There's a lot of other things too that he delved into that never saw the light of day that this guy did. So we want to do our best to honor that and to do what's right for Arduin. And we want to bring it forth the right way. The setting's the main thing. We've had such a focus though. Like Dave said, he has the continent map. He has a lot of other things on deck trying to do as far as the world, the setting, which there's just a ton enough. I know, Shadow, you've done a lot on the World Guide of Kaz, that huge book. But the other side of it is the system, and we need that engine to drive everything. So that's been a big focus of ours, is not only developing the setting and all the information, new adventures that we're putting together as we speak. There's 4 adventures already being developed for Arduin on top of everything. But the new Arduin Bloody Arduin system, which we don't plan to come out with any other versions. This is going to be it. Arduin Bloody Arduin, and that's it. All the original books, the red books as we call them, Grimoires 1 through 9, will always stay available for people who want to pick it up. They want to port it into D&D, take what they want from it, use it. It'll always be available. But our Arduin Bloody Arduin system is going to be the be end all for what we want to do with Arduin. And that's what we're going to focus to put out there so that it can drive all the adventures, all the different continents. We talked about all the different worlds that we're going to have there attached with it. And really, like I said, push Arduin and do a real honor for Dave Hargrave. Because again, I feel at times too, you hear about Gary Gygax, of course, the man who created D&D and all these other people, but never do you hear one whiff about Dave Hargrave. And it's a shame. We recently, and I got to tell this story, Earl Otis, we talked to Earl Otis, Roland Brown, Greg Espinozo, Michio Nakamura, Michio.
Just butchered half the names, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Did I mess that up? But Michio, all those artists I just talked about, and they're known in the industry or they've done computer gaming and so forth. Michio gave a thank you to Dave Hargrave. If anybody has the original Diablo, the manual, in the back, there's a thank you from Michio to Dave Hargrave right in there. And the reason being is, guess where Michio started his artwork? Is in Arduin. There's a ton of his art in the books, in our grimoires. Earl Otis, who's a big, huge name, he did in the industry to this day, who did a ton of work in the industry, even for D&D and for Old School Essentials. I know they had a big Kickstarter. Guess where he started doing his work? Was with Dave Hargrave. Greg Espinozo, same thing. All his work started with Dave Hargrave. And Roland Brown, who is our art director right now, same thing. They all got their start with Dave Hargrave and went from there. And one of the interesting stories that I wanted to say about Earl Otis, Dave and I met him at GaryCon, and he told us a little story. White Plume Mountain, that was one of the adventures there from D&D. I think it's S2. He did the overland drawing of White Plume Mountain and the surrounding area. And in the corner, the upper left corner, is an undead dragon. I think it says, "Here lies the lair of Dragoth." I think it was something like that, the undead dragon. And he said when he did that and presented it to TSR at that day, way back when, they had no idea what an undead dragon was. He did that in homage to Dave Hargrave. They didn't have a clue. And this was right from his words. They were clueless. Undead dragon, okay, whatever. Cool, they didn't have a clue. So again, it goes to show you how much came from Arduin that wasn't even in the minds of even the people who did Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. So yeah. I wanted to tell that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Errol said that he didn't even know what a hell an undead dragon was at the time.
Yeah, they didn't. They were clueless to what an undead. They were, okay. So, like I said, the stuff that was in Arduin was eventually picked at from everybody else because they were such great ideas. That's what we did when we gamed. When Dave, like I said, when we were back in middle school, high school, and he found the books, we started putting it right into our games immediately. So, but just sorry about that. But I just wanted to give a little bit of, again, Arduin.
No, it's absolutely perfect. That's kind of the whole point, is that Arduin has been such a huge part of the gaming phenomenon, and people just, that they need to know. One of these days, we're going to put together a book about David A. Hargrave, just about the man, and really let people know what a tremendous influence he was, and what a tragedy it was that he was taken from us so early. I grew up in California, and I could have taken a bus to try to meet him. I was only 14 at the time, but I missed out, and I would have done anything to have changed that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and you know what? We are in discussions with some people right now, and we've been talking with his name's Griff, who did the Secrets of Blackmore. And
exactly what I was thinking.
We've been having some discussions about doing something for Dave Hargrave along those lines, and it has piqued some interest. So we're going to be going back and forth, and maybe down the road we can do a documentary about Dave Hargrave and Arduin and all the things associated, which would be a great service to Dave. It really would. It would be an honor to do that for Dave. So that's something we're looking into too, to try to do. Again, it would be down the road, but we are in preliminary discussions.
Wow.
Yeah. So just so you know, we've looked at that angle too, about doing something for Dave Hargrave to memorialize, his contributions to the RPG industry.
Very much so, Jack. 71. It's definitely needed. People will have a completely different outlook on everything RPG related once they understand just how much of an influence this guy was, and we've got you guys to thank for it. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go to number 4 on my list of questions.
I saw the question there real quick about Levi Combs. He already wrote a module for Arduin.
Oh, you got another sale. Cha-ching.
Yeah, it's already written. It'll come out with the new system. We haven't worked on the art yet for it.
Yeah, Levi. Yep.
Levi's awesome to work with there.
Yep, he's going to be working with us some more too. But he's already, like Dave said, has one adventure, which we're getting to the tail end. We need to edit and do some other things for it, get some artwork. But yep, Levi's already in the till for one adventure, and hopefully we're going to be doing some more. But he's excellent. He's excellent to work. Him and all the independent publishers there, Skeeter Green and all of them. Ed Bickford, we've talked to Rocky from Blue Bullet, I believe it is. There's a bunch, Jim Wampler. So all the independent publishers.
Oh, I know Jim. Jim.
Yeah, they're good. They're all good people there. So
it's just a little bit of time is setting us back. Just it's so much.
Yeah.
You guys will get there. You guys will get there.
Yeah.
So, guys, how much did gaming influence you guys in your education? Because I know for me, it actually, I was a really bad student before I started playing role-playing games. But then after my first summer of playing, I went back to school with a completely different attitude and outlook toward gaming and learning in general. Just, the idea that, there's a lot of stuff I want to know now, as opposed to, I'm just waiting for recess. So how about you guys?
I would say the same thing. It also expanded my vocabulary and my understanding of words and concepts and just life. Like you just became more open-minded to what is really out there, as opposed to being in a shelter, I definitely would say it influences one's education for the better.
It definitely, for my case, helped a lot too. It just, again, expanded your mind, but made you think. A lot of critical thinking, like trying to solve things, how to do things with spells, tactics, when you're fighting monsters, when you're doing things. It really honed certain skills, math, English. But there was also another important part too, socialization. Just being able to be around a table with, other guys at that time. We didn't have too many women playing at that time, but they were slowly introduced. But just being with a bunch of friends and different, even new friends, and being able to socialize was a great aspect. You learned a lot,
and to work as a team.
Yeah. So I think it taught you a lot of valuable skills. A lot of different things, which benefited you. And for me, it just had helped in a lot of different areas in life.
How about you, Sport? Have you noticed a difference?
No, not really.
You're already a genius. That's why. So trust me, I'm not just bragging. This is one smart kid. Ask anybody who knows him out there in TV land. He is one bright kid. And speaking of bright kids, you're on number 5, Sport.
Number 5. Okay. I think I'm gonna pass that one back to you.
Well, I don't have the card, so I can't ask the question.
You remember it?
No, I don't.
Oh, well. Question 5. Did gaming ever influence your love life?
Influence it?
For good or bad? You ever have to tell your girl, sorry, babe, I can't make it tonight. I got a game, something like that,
I'll interject a quick story there. When we were doing this tabletop World War II game, George remembers it well. The guy's like, "Oh my God, I had the chance to be at this place with all these these dancers and strippers and all this stuff. I can't remember what it was. It was a bachelorette party or something. And he's like, instead, I chose to be here with you, smelly bastards. But I do recall at least one occasion where I think I mentioned back in the early 90s when we maybe 2000s. I don't know, early on when we owned the company and owned Arduin, I think I mentioned that we had a game company, and they're like, what? And then you say it, and then, well, there went the opportunity of a lifetime, and it was like gone, like they dropped you like a hot potato.
Yeah. Back in the day, it was not cool.
And you're like meshing, like, oh yeah, this is great. And then all of a sudden you say that and you're out.
Yeah. Everybody's interested that you have a business and you're doing this and that. And then you mentioned we do gaming and we make miniatures of, of characters and dragons. And all of a sudden it was like, boom. All right, that's it. Yep.
That's funny because growing up, I actually had a lot of girlfriends and girl players at my table or in my room. I'm sure you can imagine. It's really weird, hearing some of these stories, because I'm like, even when I worked at the game halls that I worked at, there were like, maybe it's a California thing, maybe it's a bunch of hippie chicks kind of thing. I don't know, goth chicks as well. But it was just very different out here for me at least.
Yeah.
Oh.
These days it's an opener, fellas. Yeah, I could see that there are a lot more women that are into it. I'm gonna have to introduce you to some of our other friends on different channels that actually do have a pretty big female base player group. We have one friend who's running an all Amazon game in Chicago where all the players are women. So,
wow.
Times are a changing, hopefully for the better.
I think so.
So for the next one, how has gaming affected your career, or has it become your career?
For me, it has become my career at this point. I retired about a year ago, and part of the idea behind Arduin was that this was something that we wanted to carry into our retirement. As far as when I was working, well, we both bowed out in 2014 due to deaths in the family and things like that. It was utterly devastating. And there was always a stigma at work. Oh, what do you mean you got a game company? Or, I happen to work with a guy that George and I both went to high school, and he would always be like, oh, you're just playing that Dungeons and Dragons, and then he'd get a couple other people to be on board. And then when you dish it back out to them, they're like, oh my God, you're attacking me now verbally. And it's like, well, it was fair game for you to do it all day long, and when I finally say something back, you're defending yourself. Like, come on. So yeah, they haunt you with it. But I'd also say at the same token, I think it helped, you have more experience with dealing with things when you had a group of gamers and you saw some of the bizarre crap that they're trying to pull or how to handle it as a GM, and it helped you with my job. My job was an immigration supervisor at the border. So I dealt with people from all over the world. So I'd say it was a help.
Definitely, I would to kind of go off of that, what Dave is saying. It is definitely more geared to helping with social situations, dealing with real life situations, because you're dealing in a game environment. How many different types of interaction do you have in a game setting? From being in a town, a village, a city, a dungeon, and any type of environment. And believe it or not, that sometimes translates because you're dealing with so many different personalities, or even around the table dealing with people, it helped in real life. So for me, it was interesting how it helped again in dealing with people. It really did.
Just like what Jack is saying here, the gaming being a refuge, and all of the things that it taught us, not just
Yeah.
not just the social aspects, but that's what even though my dad was a bit of a survivalist, it really pushed the ideas of survivalism and prepping, and learning all you could learn, especially as a forever dungeon master. I took over the role of dungeon mastering after my first game. It's like, no, I want to do that. I want to be the DM. I'm going to, go out and get the books and do the things. And you had to learn a little bit about everything. My good friend Shauner is going to watch this one day, and he's like, yep, jack of all trades. Yep, that's me to a T. I had to learn so many different things just to be able to keep up with, and sometimes I had one game where I had 21 players at one table. I had to deal with a lot of different little things, and be able to make snap decisions, judgments, and improvising, at the drop of a hat every day that I gamed, and in between time, learning as much as I can. Not that it's an adversarial thing, but in a certain way, it is a DM versus player. You have to be up to the challenge to handle those players, because there's more of them than you, and all their brains are running at different speeds, different levels, right. And you have to, be able to, put a smile on each one of their faces by the end of the night, to get them to come back. You've got to, you might have some slow players, you might have some quick players, but you have to be able to deal, and change gears to accommodate each and every one of those players, to make them feel like they had a good time, want to come back and continue the game.
Yeah.
How much certain parents suck. They stopped our games as sophomores. Oh, I'm sorry, Cal. I never had that problem.
Normal.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. My parents didn't have a problem with it. They noticed the change in my grades, and that's all that mattered. What? You went from a this to a that. They keep on rolling them dice. So number 7's on you, Jack.
Number 7. Are either of you married with children?
It's an easy one, right?
No children.
I was married. I am divorced. And I had one daughter.
That's the way to go. I'm telling you guys, you got to make your own players. Jackie,
make your own players. That's awesome.
Need a platoon.
Or a baseball team or a football team. I have a friend who's got 7 kids, and he's basically trying to start his own baseball team. Unfortunately, he's got nothing but girls. Not unfortunately, but you know what I mean. If he had a couple more boys, he would have had some more gamers at his own table. But that's a story for another day. I got to ask the next one, because it's tied into that. How did they feel about your hobby? Was it ever an issue?
No.
That's great to hear.
As long as I enjoy what I'm doing, supportive.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be. Our good friend DM James, he and some other friends of ours are lucky to have wives and significant others who do play, and that's what it's all about. You can't ask for more than that. A wife or girlfriend or kids that play. That's living the dream. It really is.
Absolutely.
Back to you, Sport.
All right. So,
because he's not married, doesn't have kids yet, and I hope he does. Give me lots and lots of grandkids.
Oh, okay. How did you get into this as a career?
I'm not sure. Like, it was just a thing at the time when we bought I believe it was the old Archive miniature line, because we wanted to build armies. And there was a rumor that Archive had tons of armies and stuff in their molds. And I was in the service at the time on, in the reserves at that time. And I was on my 2 weeks active duty down in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. And there was a distributor ship called Chessex, which I know they still exist, but I don't know if they're a distributor now. I don't think they are. But anyway, they were a major distributor, and we were having my father at that time over the years buy us wholesale with his business. So we were buying, 5 sets of books for everything, for everybody. We all had doubles, triples, because, we were getting the industry discount.
Right.
And anyway, I'm on my reserve duty, and I got the weekend off, or I got a Friday off or something. I just drove the car over to the distributor and just popped in, with my dad's business, and grabbed the shopping cart, and would just start shopping and chatting it up with the staff. And that's when I found out they had the Archive line, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, I got to buy it.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, that's how we kind of started. And then it was, we were in the miniature business after a while, and then we were selling to our friends because we were buying wholesale and then selling, not at retail, but at a discount. And we took out some ads in the Dragon magazine at the time, and it just helped fuel us building more pieces and things like that. And that's how we got.
We're going to have a side discussion about Archive miniatures, because I have a bunch of originals, but there's some still looking for.
We've since sold Archive in most of the molds, except for the Arduin line and a line that's not supposed to exist any longer.
Yeah, I know. I have a lot of those.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I was talking about. And George also knows what I'm talking about. We have to finish that conversation later.
We'll have to finish these conversations offline.
So we just didn't sell what we legally couldn't sell, and kept the Arduin miniatures as part of the sale, because obviously it's part of what we got. Because at that time we also had grabbed Arduin, and it was like, what other game would you want? And that would be it. Like, there was nothing else on the discussion board.
Yeah, there's only one other game, two games in the world that I would ever want to own besides Arduin, and I'm not including Dungeons and Dragons because of what it's done lately, which actually segues into the next question I've got for you guys. What do you guys like most about RPGs these days? Like right here and now?
I think that
that's a good one, Mark.
There's a lot more players now. I think there's a lot of creativity out there. I think the self-publishing, people can come out with their own ideas too. I like that. I like I can walk down the convention hall at a gaming like Gary Con, and I could probably get myself into a game, and just become friends with these people, and have a good time. Maybe not everybody, but certainly, I think that's a good thing. And there's a lot more players these days.
Yeah, I would to go off of that, I'd say that's the best thing, is how much more accessible it is nowadays about the industry, and it's mainstream. You can go to any YouTube channel, and there's a ton of channels now about, gaming, showing people gaming. It's amazing. That never, back in the day, it was difficult to find. Even
I actually think, and I piggyback onto George real quick before I forget, because I haven't told him this. I could have sworn I seen, and I want to say it was ESPN said they were having a game night on one of their channels. I could have sworn I seen it advertised somewhere.
Dave, I remember seeing that. Yeah, there was something about ESPN or something.
And we talked about that for decades. Like, they should just have a session where you watch these games sometimes, because the stuff that happens just blows your mind, and it's so interesting.
Yeah, where nowadays you have so much, and to go off of that, Dave, again, you have so many different channels where they show gaming now, like on YouTube, which never existed before. Again, it's become more mainstream. If you go now, we talk about the days of, talking to people about gaming. It's not a big deal. You have a good chance that people understand what you're talking about. Where back in the day, people looked at you like you had two heads. They were like, huh?
Yeah.
Real quick, Mark had a great question. Will we see Arduin make its way to the digital or virtual tabletop space?
We've been taught. We've had a couple people that are involved with us taking a look at that whole space. We were going down a path for something. The thing is with D&D, the D&D Beyond and all that. Now we've kind of put the project on hold because the amount it would take for us to build something was insane. When we took a look at what it would take, we still have a person who's involved with us who's staying to look. So there's a possibility of something VTT wise for Arduin. It's going to be a while. The reason again being, we need the system first. We need our system done to have that engine that we can go. But yes, to answer that question, yes, we are looking into it. We have been for about a year. It's just the environment. It's too much for us to try to invest because we need somebody who could really program. And right now, the way things are going with D&D, we're waiting for the dust to settle, but we're moving behind the scenes, keeping an eye on things. And we are developing some digital things to go into VTT. So we've got some things in the works already. So that's kind of where we are with that. But that's a very good point.
Want to hit up two more questions before I hand it back over to Jackie. How old are you guys? And if you don't want to say, I don't blame you. And are you guys both veterans?
I think I'm 54, and we're both veterans. I got 2 branches under my belt, and George has 1, and they're all different.
Correct. And I'll be 54 in about 3 weeks.
Damn, I'm the old guy again. I got you guys beat by a couple of months. But believe it or not, my son, he's also JRO TC right now, and I'm not gonna embarrass him, but he is incredibly. He's rising up the old ranks pretty quickly, and he's only been in for a short period. But
that's awesome.
I'm real proud of you, Sport. Real proud of you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
So, Sport, you got the next question?
Yeah. How often do you game?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Well, it's not as easy as you think. We game when we can at this point. Right now, we game playtesting as much as we can with that. During our time off, maybe once or twice a month, some sort of board game right now because they're easier to fill the gap.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say much, if at all, online. Like it's a different experience if you're face to face. It's like a role playing game. It's not like playing Monopoly, any of them. War games and just other board games and things that provoke thought. Like I don't think Monopoly. I think that's like bottom tier, kind of like beneath me. It's just not interested,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's amazing how that works, isn't it? Once you've played D&D, once you've played D&D or something like that, everything else is just like, except for some good wargaming. That I will, put that caveat in there. But once you play D&D, I couldn't play another board game for the most part until I discovered Shadows of Brimstone. I just couldn't do it. Monopoly, Parcheesi, Deckers.
Pirate ship game.
Oh yeah. That was a lot of fun too. The old pirates from Wizards of the Coast, where you built the little card models of pirate ships. That was a lot of fun. And any sort of nautical game like that, sign me up. Man of War. Yeah, I'm there.
That's the thing. Once you elevate to a certain level of gaming, it's difficult to go down unless it's just something as a filler. But a filler is like one of the normal games is a card game or something. So once you hit that level, that's it. But for us, it's difficult right now because we're on the business side of things now. So now we have deadlines, we have things we want to accomplish. And like Dave said, most of our role play has been play testing, internal play testing of the new system, which has been fun. It's been interesting because a lot of our team is scattered around the country. So I've been running a game internally with the new system, and we've kind of done our own VTT, but it's like an old
8-bit kind of thing.
Type. We literally use Zoom. We use Zoom, and then Dave, where we do a lot of the stuff, we have a room where we have a camera that's on the ceiling that comes down, so to speak, hangs. And I have an old Chessex mat, and we use miniatures and the pens. And that's how we do our VTT is through Zoom. And if we roll dice, we roll dice on camera live. Each person rolls. And you know what? It feels like you're around the table. To be honest, Dave and I have had some discussions, and here I am discussing open that for VTT, I know people like all the bells and whistles, but I almost feel like that to me felt awesome with Zoom and a camera and using a mat and drawing and moving the miniatures for people, real miniatures. We were using, of course, our Emperor's Choice miniatures, and everybody had a blast. We played for 8 hours, I think.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that.
You don't see that. So
I do get in a couple of games. I'm in like 6 games a month, sometimes an extra pickup game every once in a while during the month. That's online, and it's actually a lot of fun compared to no gaming. I know there's some people out there that would be like, if I can't game in person, I don't want to game. But after the 2 years we just went through, and with so many great players that live hundreds of miles away, I'd so much rather play online than just maybe next time you're in town. No. I don't want to squeeze in, a weekend, with nonstop gaming and with my friends when they come to visit. If I can play online, I'm going to play online. If I have to choose.
You could set it up like in minutes across the country, and you got all these technologies now. I mean, when we started the business, we were actually going to hook up with a guy named Hunter, and he owned a company named Grip. This was before VTT. We were going to be like his premier customer. We were going for it. It was going to be basically VTT. And then I don't remember what happened, but somehow we lost touch with him, and he had something to do with Traveler, but I seem to recall on Wiki he passed away.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I think I can't remember. It wasn't Hunter Gordon, was it?
I can't remember. It might
have been his wife. I mean, we met them at Gamma Trade Show or Gen Con. I can't remember which.
It was Gamma.
Yeah. We had long discussions with them.
Yeah.
That was going to be a thing at the time, and that was going to be brand new technology.
Correct. That was, again, probably VTT in its infancy, true infancy. I mean, literally, my God, 20 years ago. So there was so many things back in the day that, woulda, coulda, shoulda, unfortunately, how things go.
But I think the technology is great. I think you can get together with people you used to know or people you don't know. And
it's a nice, perfect example.
In a minute.
Yeah. I said, we didn't have a VTT when we do internal play testing, and we have just as much fun. It feels like everybody's right there, just like we're doing now, with the show here.
Yeah, like an impromptu VTT for us at the time,
Yeah.
setting that up.
Yeah.
Versus something like really, nice looking with,
Nice and
face down
sophisticated.
maps and.
I'm going to try and send you some links to some games I've been in so that you guys can see what people kind of expect, just in case that, might help you. And to show off my friends' channels. Because I've been in a couple of really good games lately. And, it's one of the things I really like about it is that the whole technology allows you. I hate to sound like a dick, but it allows you to kind of get in touch with better players, people who are really serious, instead of, I've got some great friends. They've been friends for 30 plus years. And when we play, we're not always, as serious as we should be, if you catch my drift. And with this technology, I've been able to meet a lot of great, epic level gamers. I was in a game last week where it was all what I'm going to call professional dungeon masters at the table. From the DM to the players, we've all, maybe not necessarily been paid DMs. Two of us have been paid DMs, but the rest of them, have been dungeon masters or eternal dungeon masters for, the better parts of their career. We all got together and it was, next level.
That's awesome.
Another interesting thing I like about the online thing that we actually discussed at one point with the last session we did was when we traditionally game, there's a lot of note passing. This guy's screwing that guy, or he's trying to do this behind the scenes, and he doesn't want. And that allows you to do that.
Private chats and texting
Yeah.
and the whole bit, and you can really, and you can do it without the obvious passing of a note.
Right? Yeah, here you go. And it's like, oh, hang on.
Well, I wonder what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then the DM's got to act all sly. No, he just, exactly. For my next question, it's a fun one. What are you guys' favorite character types? If I was going to have you at my table, what would you play?
I suppose it would depend on the game. For me, I migrate more towards a fighter or a thief, but big but on that. I do like a mage, so depending on my comfort level with the rules, more so the rules than anything else. If I'm very comfortable with the rules, I'd say a mage. Otherwise, a fighter or a thief, just to wade my way into it.
I do prefer pure fighter. I do like a pure fighter, but in the same I'd say a fighter would be just my favorite. Just get in there and hack and slash. Just a nice pure fighter. I do like. I should probably put a little bit on that. That Paladin was my favorite class to play. So Paladin I would say is really number one if I really were to hone in. So a fighter type Paladin would be the number one I would play. Then after that, kind of the same like Dave, I think a magic user, almost the direct opposite. Because then, you play a campaign with a Paladin, then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do a mage now. So
yeah, I like to rain down the fire if I can have it. If it's a not a first level guy, I thoroughly enjoy laying down the path of destruction.
How about you, Jack?
Paladin.
Yep. Kind of like his old man, except that because I'm running a Paladin right now in one game, and it's a lot of fun. But George, he knows. My favorite types of characters are multi-class elves. I know there's a lot of hate for multi-class elves, but I just love the idea of the elves being so much more than humans. And not just the statistical bonuses, but just there's something I was telling Jack they're almost like angels. They're like supermen and women, but at the same time they've got their flaws. But there's just something about them that just, especially that whole magic aspect. Back in the day, being able to run a like fighter magic user, sword in one hand, spell in the other. Elric of Melbourne, just absolutely love that whole kind of craziness. Elric, because I always saw Elric as an elf, a multi-class fighter, magic user, cleric, thief, assassin, every profession all rolled into one with really crappy stats.
Yeah.
And addicted to
Who knows, right?
Yeah.
Dragon blood or whatever those potions were. I can only imagine.
Great
but yeah, such a great character. And and I know David A. Hargrave absolutely loved Elric as well. He may be why I liked him so much, but the books themselves are absolutely worth the read for any fantasy player. They were so up his alley, so his style, that whole West Coast Gonzo sort of style with everything and anything goes. It just
he
absolutely
even added up all the swords for Arduin, so it's when I say all, I mean the two, and then
Mornblade and Stormbringer. Yeah, that's another thing. Is I had the blessing of being able to walk out of White Plume Mountain with Black Razor. My character got to keep it, and I love that weapon so much that I passed it down to my child character, my grandchild character, and now my great-grandchild character in a campaign. And it's still going. It's still in my possession. And the only way it's going to leave my hot little hands is when I hand it off to Jackie here in some campaign down the road. Speaking of which, buddy, it's your question. You're up next.
Oh, I didn't even know that. What's your favorite game besides Arduin?
After Arduin, I would say, and I assume we're talking role-playing games here.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with role-playing games. I would say for me it would be, and I don't know of any specific order. I would give them three. I would say Rollmaster, Boot Hill, and Gamma World.
Like this one?
Yeah.
It's still sealed. This is a sealed copy.
Wow.
Yeah,
you don't see that too often.
Nope, I love that game. That's why Shadows of Brimstone is a big one in our household. Cowboys and Cthulhu, sign me up. Right, Sport?
Yeah.
Yes.
Board games, I would go with...
I've got Gamma World here, too. That one was easier to pull out.
Yeah, no, that's great. I don't even have the box set anymore. I've got
it all.
Board games, I'd go with... I don't know. Right now, I like the V Commandos, which is the only cooperative game I like. It's from a company out of France, and Nuclear War. But I do like a lot of war games. But those would probably be my two fast go-to ones. Plus, there's a football one we just started playing with a friend of ours.
That was fun.
I got to tell you, I can't remember the name of it. It's you can get it on. They make a whole ton of different games. I can't think of the name of the company right now, but it was pretty fun. It was fast. It was fun. It was furious, and you can get teams from every era and play against teams of every era. I can't think of the name of it.
Was it Gridiron?
No,
maybe something else. All right.
How about you, George?
Yeah, well, I have to say role play game wise, Rollmaster, because we did a lot. I ran a lot of Rollmaster in our day with Arduin, believe it or not. We translated everything into Arduin. And I did a lot of the other games, Boot Hill, Gamma World, but I'm going to hit you with one that I remember playing and I always went to and played and was in different games. I don't know if you ever heard of this Morrow Project.
Yeah, I think I actually have it.
Yeah, Morrow Project.
I don't have that one. I have heard of it, but I do not own it.
It's kind of like a post-apocalyptic, almost a Gamma World, but a more
I definitely have it.
Modern one of Gamma World, so to speak, but it's back from the day. Really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool.
It was just the concept and everything with it made it a cool game. So the Morrow project, I think, was a cool thing. Basically, you're a team that was pretty much put into a bunker, and it's kind of a private company, and then all of a sudden you come back out after 200, 300 years. So it's kind of cool. So kind of a mix of Gamma World, but almost a mix of Gamma World and Twilight 2000, which was like World War III. Yeah.
I thought George was going to say Cabal.
Yeah, Cabal.
You guys never heard of it?
If you've never heard of it.
No, I honestly haven't.
Like Arduin.
Yeah.
And it was actually printed on the vegetable paper. And I remember we were at a con talking to the author once, and this little kid came by and he goes, "Does their game have resurrection?" And the author just went crazy. "Yeah, it's got resurrection." And he's like, "And if you see that telephone pole over there, this troll's going to wrap you around it." It's just the weirdest experience.
Yeah. I still have a copy of the game. It's a weird, just an interesting, weird little game.
Kabul, I think it was.
Yeah. And there was an acronym for all the letters. It's just interesting.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. But I like I said, as far as role play, Rollmaster and Morrow Project would be the two. Board games, I mean, like Dave said, we do so many different ones. I really, believe it or not, I really like World in Flames. We've been doing a little bit here and there. It's it's a World War II large monster game. Just a great game. So
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, no, it's excellent. So like I said, we do a lot of different war gaming. So I think that's an excellent game. But other than Arduin, those are the few things. But we delve into a lot of different things here and there. We tried different board games, different things. Not too many role play games. Boot Hill, though, is always an interesting one. For our play test, I actually did a whole conversion for Boot Hill. We're doing some play testing with the new Arduin system, doing a Western, just a pure Western, and see how it works. Well, our system, Shadow, for the new Arduin has to work with whatever. If you got fighters, if you got, a normal squad of troops from World War II, it's got to work.
How about you, Jack?
I don't know. I'm very system agnostic, so I wouldn't say that one particular system that I've played is better than all the others for two main reasons, being one, I don't play that many different kinds of systems, and two, either way, it's not really – I mean, obviously there are some systems that are objectively worse and better than others, but I haven't found one that I would specifically say is better than all of the others.
So what are you playing on the computer these days?
Maps.
You done with Hearts of Iron?
No, that falls into that category.
Okay.
I was interested in that one. That's a big boy.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with that one. I think I had a copy. I had an echo.
Oh. Yeah. I think you guys were both talking at the same time.
Oh.
So what else do you guys do for fun?
Well, we go to a lot of parks, me and the wife. We like to go out to dinner to the little seedy bars and breweries, and sometimes travel. Work a lot on my house. From the latest thing is electrical work to some woodworking, but I haven't done any real woodworking. I got some machinery here, but I seem to always be behind on getting new wiring done in the house. So wouldn't say that's fun, but it's the reality of it,
Yeah.
There's pretty much with me, it just, going down to the waterfront is always fun. Hanging out outside, just getting out once in a while. Like I said, we spend so much time now with the business, with casting and writing. I'm constantly in the house writing and pounding away. And, I have books actually right in the room here. I'm surrounded by probably 75 books. while trying to do all this Arduin stuff and develop the system. So getting out and just going for walks. I like to do that, go to some place to eat near the waterfront is always good. So I like to get out, do that. I like the occasional movie to distract too. That's always good. Grab a nice movie on the TV or something. Or sometimes it's good for inspiration too. While working something with the system, I watch a movie that's kind of gives me some ideas or thoughts on certain things. So just like to do that, go out once in a while, listen to music. I used to do that a lot pre-COVID, go out and listen to local bands and live music and just hang out, get something to eat, have a few drinks. That's always fun, but that's slowly coming back, which is good. It's kind of opening up again, but pretty much that, just to hang out and relax, take my mind off of things, de-stress, from everything from work to, working on things with the business.
Yeah.
You're up, sport.
All right. Wait. Oh, you're right. You did ask a question. How long have you been gaming? And wait, I already asked this question. Or how long have you been gaming? The second part has already been answered.
I couldn't put a date on it. I'd have to say the extremely early 80s.
Yeah.
Pre the Conan movie.
Correct. Yeah, my God, it's been
maybe the time around Panzer Blitz from Avalon Hill came out. That was my first, very, very first game, I think.
Good God, it's been a long time. I'd say about 40 years. I'm trying to think all the way back 6th grade. And even, like I said, even before that, I was picking up Avalon Hill games and we were playing them. So probably close to 40 years. Yeah, about 13, 14. Yeah. Yeah. It's been
Do you guys remember the old micro games like Ogre and Chitin and Task Force games, things like that?
Oh,
you
yeah.
remember carrying those around in your back pocket, waiting for lunch break to set up a game table at school?
Yeah.
I remember all the little pocket games.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, even TSR did some. There was a vampire one I remember.
Transylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got almost every one of those. And I want
Ataris was another one, the sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Reaper Minis, I think, owns Heritage, and I think they have a lot of those.
I've got all 4 of those.
Download online, and
Yep, I've got them all.
Play.
Yeah.
Yep, I love those little games. I don't know if you guys have heard of one-page rules. They're trying to do stuff like that, but it's mostly like RPGs and miniature war games. But Warp War, Sticks and Stones. Just there were so many of those little games, and I want to see those come back. I want to see kids carrying a game in their back pocket instead of their freaking phone.
I've been thinking that too, kind of not necessarily the phone statement, because I'm not thinking along that line, but the small little ones that you could just plop out and play in a small afternoon,
Yeah. Not in 20, 30 minutes. Once you learn Ogre, we get 2-3 games in a lunch break. Our food's over here with the little, sheet of paper with the counters. Oh man, I miss those. I miss those so much.
Yeah, they were just a little bit of Neuroshima Hex. That one's really good. It's a quickie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little
Kung
more
Fu
than
2100, the Fantasy Trip, all of them. They were just, and now you gotta carry around the Encyclopedia Britannica to play a freaking role playing game.
Yeah.
That's
and I think we were just as guilty with Arduin Eternal, but we're gonna take.
But that's okay because it's Arduin.
Difficulty.
It's the it's the exception. It's just.
Wow.
So I hear what D&D is doing, and that turns me off. I just can't fathom having 8 sheets for my character of abilities. I might as well just play the computer game of Diablo or something and try to figure out how to put my little gems in my items and, you know, run around just pressing buttons. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're definitely not going in that direction. And from what I see from their playtest material for 6th edition, they can call it whatever they want, but 6th edition is what it is that they're going to come out with in 2024. We're not interested going in that direction. I think they're becoming more complex, more crunchy, as it's said nowadays. And I don't think that's the way to go. I mean, you have to have some meat on the bones, but I think they're going way overboard. I think all these things with, you know, feats and all this and that, that's.
I always felt Rollmaster was the pinnacle of the difficulty I would like. And it wasn't about feats and things. It was different than that.
Yeah. The Rollmaster had the complexity, but the complexity was cool because they had the individual weapon attack charts, they had the armor, they had the percentile use with the different skills and what you could develop. There was it was complex, but it was concise. And this whole thing with feats and all this stuff, these subclasses and this and that. I mean,
I think it's the idea that you're going to forget you had a skill.
Yeah.
That would have made a difference. Or you got to sit there and spend 2 hours trying to figure out, I want to get the best minimum, maximum value out of my numbers and my skills. And I don't know, that just doesn't.
It takes the fun out of it. You're playing. Yeah. We have an expression. It's playing the character sheet, not the character. And I hate that. I want to play the character. I want to, you know, when we try something in real life, we don't ask ourselves, what are my odds, you know, or can I do it? We just try. You know, that's the way your characters should think. And in the old days, if you wanted to do something, like if the thief was dead and you wanted to listen at the door or something like that, you just tried. You probably failed, but you just tried. And
like
that's the way
you have a list of skills that, like, oh, I can only do things that are on this list or kind of similar to things on this list. No, you have general skills and talents in certain areas, which would be like your basic stats, and then you can try to do things and you either fail or you succeed. It's not like, oh, I can only do these specific things, and if it's not on this list, no luck. No, I can either try to do it and I might fail, I might succeed, depending on if I'm good or bad in that area, not if I have the ability to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip question number 16. You guys have the list, and I'm sure you can figure out why it's kind of been covered, or at least I'm going to assume that it's been covered because it seems a little weird at this moment. So it's back to you, Sport.
Who is your favorite author and why?
Ooh, good one.
You wrote it.
You know, off the top of my head, I might shoot for an oldie. Was is it Terry Brooks who did the Sword of Shannara?
Yep.
I don't know. That was a pretty decent series back when it came out, and I liked it. I mean, I like Moorcock's Elric a lot, but it's a tough read too, as far as trying to follow it.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the imagination that Moorcock gives, you know, in the Elric series a lot.
Yeah, he really went off the deep end and really stretched those imaginative muscles to go where other people had never gone before.
Yeah, I mean, I like the whole theme that he skinned Elric with, everything in it from beginning to end. I read it a few times, and I know it's a little tough, you know, the way it flows. But yeah, I'd say those two maybe.
Yeah, that's funny because what I was going to say is Michael Moorcock with the Elric series, I think to me is number one. You know, just because I think with the flavor it has, the way it was, and I guess liking Arduin, it fits into Arduin like a glove, the whole Michael Moorcock. But I did enjoy it. It's one of the few series that book series that I've actually read more than once. So that tells me a lot with that. And I did read the whole Swords of Shannara series, the one Dave is talking about. That was a good one. That was a real good one.
The Book of Swords series was good too. I don't recall who
I read those.
Yeah.
It's been a long time though. I wish I still had them, but I think I borrowed them from somebody, to be honest. For me, it's absolutely hands down Roger Zelazny. He was actually a kind of a friend of mine. I got to meet him, and we had a pretty simple but nice relationship. And he inspired me to go on to do a lot of the things that I did in life. And like David A. Hargrave, he was taken away from us much too soon. He had so many more stories to share with us. But for me, it's Zelazny. Jack, how about you?
Don't know. And the answer I'm going to give, or might give, though I'm not entirely sure if it's true or not, is, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how to put it because I would give away the very reason why I don't want to say it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he's not huge on reading a lot of the books that we're familiar with. He's a little bit motivated in a different field of study right now, but he'll get there.
My reading is historical.
Yeah. So here's another fun one. What's your guys' favorite movie?
Whew, that's a tough one. I don't know if I could peg one. I probably got about 10. I mean, 10 hardcore ones that would be my favorite. If I had to peg it to one, I might go with The Wild Geese with Richard Burton and Richard Harris, Roger Moore. Just because it has everything in it. It's got, adventure, it's got money, it's got the royal screwing of all time, it's got death, it's got, politics, it's got, racial tension, it's got, tension with, the mafia, whatever. There's tension, and it's just a good story. But I mean, like I said, I got about 10 of them that are solid. I love the old original Conan movie. I love Kelly's Heroes. I like Waterloo. There's a ton of movies I like. I even like Heaven Can Wait with can't think of the actor's name right now. And that's not even like those movies, So
I remember when that came out. I can't think of the actor's name, but I know exactly.
Yeah, I love that movie. So I got at least a good solid 10. So I'd probably have to narrow it down to The Wild Geese if I absolutely had to pick one, just because it has between that and Conan, they both have a lot of everything, and I like it a little more serious. So.
Well, when I think about it too, I have quite a few different movies myself that I like too. One of the mainstays that I would like that I've watched a few times and could watch again is Excalibur, the original. Mm-hmm. That's a really, real good one to go in that vein. Another one that's a good one is 13th Warrior.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
I like that one.
That's another one I've seen multiples. I could watch over and over. That's another really good. Another great one that I've seen a few times is Waterloo. The one with Rod Steiger and what's his name? Christopher Plummer. That's a great movie. So I'd say those three pretty much off the bat. Trying to think. I'm sure I'm forgetting about something, but that's kind of 1, 2, 3, I would say for me.
How about you, Jack?
We reviewed it a couple weeks ago.
Okay, I'm gonna leave that one right there because my favorite movie is probably just as cringy for most of you out there, but it's The Watchmen. The DC Comics superhero film, The Watchmen, is my favorite movie of all time. It's just so powerful from beginning to end. The cinematography, the fact that I couldn't get the comic books working at a comic book store at the time, I couldn't get a copy of those comic books and had to wait decades later to get the trade paperback when I could finally find one. And it's one of the few movies that's actually better than the book, and even the author says the movie is better than the book. It's I know it's a crazy movie, but
I never
for me, it's a superhero movie about an alternate Earth where history goes a little bit differently, and it's the opening, the music, everything about it. You know, there's some parts in it you may not like, but it was just, yeah, a lot of people hate this movie, but for me, it just kicked my ass. I just wow. The first time I saw it, you know, and mind you, before that, my favorites were things like Princess Bride, Pulp Fiction, and Fight Club.
Yeah, Fight Club's good too.
Yeah. Princess Bride. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the little guy's only seen The Princess Bride and The Watchmen, and he did not want to watch it because of things he heard. And I just begged him, just sit for 15 minutes. If you hate it, just get up and leave, and we'll never talk about it again. And 45 minutes later, I'm watching him watch it, and I'm just like, I knew it. You know, all the way to the end. You know, made popcorn, enjoyed the hell out of it. I could watch that movie every day of the week, but I'm not gonna. I see you smiling in sport. It's your next question, buddy.
Yes. Yes, it is. And that is there anything that you would change in the world of role-playing games today?
I don't know. As far as change,
To be honest, I don't know what this means.
I think I got a concept with this.
I'm going to go with, I'm not sure, other than maybe as far as just plastic and resin figures, not a big fan, never have been. I think metal's where it's at because they have weight and you don't have to worry about breaking them. That doesn't mean we're not going to explore going into resins. Which we've already started exploring.
Please, no resin. Resin is.
I get it. I mean,
I know. There's a lot of
you can do it at
bonuses. I honestly can't.
We are staying with metal. We're doing pewter. We're going to continue doing pewter. We're experimenting to create pewter miniatures. So we're not getting into that. We're doing some experimentation, but we're a metal-based company, and I think we're going to stick with that long term unless something happens.
If you want to use resin, I would recommend using resin for your scenery. One of the main problems with resin miniatures, despite including the fragility of them, is that they can literally melt in your hands from body heat. The other one is that when you are like sanding or filing the miniature, you know, to get rid of the mold lines, that resin is incredibly bad for you to breathe in. Versus metal, that doesn't happen because it's so heavy that you kind of can't breathe it in. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just a metal mini lover. I've got miniatures all the way back to the early 70s, still in the original packages, never been opened, never been touched by human hands. And, you know, all the way back to the Heritage miniatures. I have almost everything Heritage ever made, many of them still sealed. But, yeah, if you guys can stay metal, you'll definitely have a lot of my money. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I'd love to make the STL files available. I mean, like I said, we are working with a 3D sculptor who's done quite a few pieces for us right now. We want to move them into metal, which makes them more multi-piece, but we're having mixed results right now. It's been an ongoing process for almost a year. And I like to say it's coming to a head again, but it's coming to a head again as of today. I had a dialogue about them just earlier today. George doesn't even know about it. So I'm working it. But ultimately, we would like to convert them over to metal or just sell the STL files, but not be the one to make them.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we prefer the metal.
Yeah, the metal. And I see some of the comments. I get it, Bo, with the metal. Yeah, flat sculpts. That's why you try to have multi-piece metal so you can get that dynamic poses to them.
Yeah.
Metal, I don't know. I feel metal is just the way to go. It just, for us, it is what we are. We're probably going to continue with that for a very long time. So I don't see us changing anytime soon at all. I think it's going to be metal.
Yeah, I mean, we just got derailed a little bit because our vulcanizer got damaged. And prior to that, we were sending molds out, and the mold maker died. And now I'm starting to realize he actually kind of squashed a lot of the figures we sent him. So now we got to redo a lot of them. And we've just gotten our first batch of molds back from Iron Wind. We were contracting out to them to do our molds right now, and we just haven't gotten to casting them. But eventually, we would like to maybe get back into making our own molds again too. I mean, it's just everything else going on. The priority is really the game as opposed to the minis.
Yeah.
Correct. That's
And Iron Wind, it looks like they did a bang up job on them anyway. So maybe we could just continue that relationship and send all our stuff to them to get molds made. And that's what I'm kind of hoping.
correct. That we can.
And they're really nice to deal with for us. So,
how about you, George? What would you change?
Yeah, what I would change in the industry, I would want the industry to go back to what it was, and what I mean by that is it should be about gaming. Take out all the politics, take out all this garbage, and get it away from gaming. You know, to me, that's what I would change. I would change just this garbage that's infiltrating in the gaming industry, you know, kind of sterilizing things. You have to do things a certain way now. You have to say certain things. You can't do this. You can't do that. You know what? This should be about gaming. It shouldn't be about anything else. You know, if you're a game company, it should be about making the best product that's a gaming product for people to play their game, not to make a statement or to have. I don't like all this garbage that's infiltrating the industry. We want nothing to do with it. Emperor's choice. You know what? Play the game the way you want, however you want, but we're going to produce Arduin the way Arduin is, and we're not pulling punches, and we're not catering, and we're not pandering. Period. And I say that. I say that distinctly, and that's not a jive at anybody or anything. It's just saying we're a game company producing a role play game. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we're going to do. And we're not going to be told we have to walk this line or do this or do that. We're our company, and we're independent. We are a sovereign corporation that will act appropriately. Period. And that's what I would like to see out of the industry. It should be about gaming, and that's it. Nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well said.
You know, I'm not going to back away from that. That's how I feel. Yeah. So I like I said, gaming should be about gaming. We're here to enjoy. I want to sit around a table or, like you said, use a VTT with a group of people around the country, friends, and have fun. Not have fun.
Yeah, I don't think we can top that, right, buddy? So I'm gonna hit you guys with the last question that we came up with before the show, and then we'll see what. Sorry about that. That's my alarm dog.
Okay, it's all
A leaf must have blown by our house.
good.
So, okay, this is a biggie. We saved it for last. What is in store for your future and the future of Emperor's Choice? Is there anything you can, leak out at this moment? Anything we haven't talked about yet?
That we haven't talked about. Well, I say the big boy for me is getting the maps done, and all these writers that we're working with right now are working with us, and trying to get the things out. I could leak you that there are a lot of minis already sculpted that we either haven't released previously to us kind of shutting production down in 2014.
More Franks.
To right now that has been being worked on. Yeah, I routinely say I can use 10 more Franks without blinking an eye. Franks are our number one seller. Why we don't have more, I don't have the real answer. There are 4 or 5. There's one sculpt that's been done by our 3D sculptor, and there's 4 or 5 different weapons assigned to him right now. And I just pulling my hair out trying to get him to fatten these arms up so because you got to take into account shrinkage in the molds, and you got to take into account proper scaling, and I just can't get him to get on board with that, so they're just too thin. And
I have two. I have some of the original archive Franks, but they're missing antennas or things like that. And then I've got one of each of the original Emperor's Choice, the Frank with the sword, I think it was, above his head, and then the Frank with the armor and the rifle. And I won't let the little guy paint them until I get more of those 2 particular miniatures
all right.
come out.
Why
he's
he
been
was
dying to paint
designed
them.
that way with the sword above his head is because of the antennae, so it was impossible to cast with his head sideways.
Yep.
So that's another thing. The Franks, that was the big problem, was we have to do them in pieces because of the head.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they're either all going to be facing forward, or their head just has to be a certain way. So we are working on figuring out, we'll do like a string of heads that'll just go to all and then they'll just do the bodies is kind of what we're working on. But right now the 3D sculptor is doing them as, one piece, and then I have him cut them up in pieces because his poses are really dynamic, like a lot of other companies' resin ones.
Franks are my son's favorite as well. He absolutely loves his Frank character, and one of these days we'll get back to that particular campaign, hopefully during the winter. How about you, George?
What I was going to say is, other than miniatures, like Dave said, we have quite a few that are on deck or on the burner to produce once we get some molds done for them. We are going to, like I said, we're continuing to develop the system, the Arduin Bloody Arduin system. That's our main guts. And again, we're looking at hopefully by the end of next year to have the Kickstarter. As far as other things, we do, like I said, the Lancer's Rest module with the original 4, the card set, and the supplemental monster treasure and spell book that we're calling it. We want to do a Kickstarter for that at some point next year, probably late spring, early summer, depending on how things get finalized. So that's the big thing on deck for us for the next year coming up. We're probably going to be mostly focusing on all our development. I know we went to GaryCon this year. Next year, I'm not sure if we're going to actually do any conventions, just because we need to focus all our resources and time to develop another system and our Kickstarters and getting, the miniatures and getting everything up and going and, be available for everybody. So we're going to focus on our production next year to get things going. But those are a lot of the things on deck. We do have, other than Lancer's Rest, we have about 4 modules in the queue right now that are happening. So we do have other things on deck for the system when it comes out. So, we are happy to see the direction we're going, but we plan to, like I said, just push everything that we're doing for next year.
The big bombshell on maps would be the continent map is 99% painted now. Prior to that, it was done electronically, and I forgot actually that there was actually a color version of it at one point that we never released. I just came across a copy of it this morning, and I totally forgot all about having a colorized one.
Wow.
So anytime I ever said there was never a color one, I guess I was mistaken. But the new one is it's fully painted by an artist. There's about probably 15 pieces of paintings that'll go on top of it, and we believe it's the last continent that Dave Hargrave drew, maybe his last map. It's the one that is in the World Book of Kaz.
Okay.
And I'm in desperate need to find a printer, maybe who can do that parchment, and preferably in one piece. The goal is 4 feet by 3 feet. It's still it's not going to get released before the books. It might be done before the books, but there's thousands of names on there. Whether they're all going to get put on there or not, we don't know. It just depends on how the photography goes on, because the way we're going to have to do it is photograph it and then put the lettering on. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, we have a lot of different things going on, a lot of different fires happening.
Quick question: what scale are the minis in? 28, right?
I want to say closer to 32, but 28 to 32.
Okay.
We were never really happy with the size of that Frank with the 2-handed sword, which is why we called him the young Frank.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We wanted him to be taller and
really?
bigger and a little different detailing.
Because I was talking to George earlier. The original, I think Julie Guthrie did the character miniatures, and those I think were actually closer to 25 mil.
Yeah, those are 25. Yep. We've upscaled the miniatures a little to go into that 28 to 32 range.
Okay,
and
good.
we plan to stick with that.
Basically, follow what the industry's doing, and it seems like they're around 32, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. We don't want to create our own little scale or anything. Just do what most.
Yeah, I recommend trying to stay somewhere happy medium between those two, so that people can use the miniatures for other games and systems, or use other miniatures when they're playing Arduin. If someone's got a character, and they're bringing it in, they don't want to have to, have their tiny little character or large character.
Our miniatures would fit into most miniatures nowadays.
We're probably not going to be banging out, 10 human fighters. We're going to be working on Arduin specific creatures and probably characters. So we're just as much reliant on other people or other companies that do what they do. We're just going to really rely on our own proprietary specifics as opposed to the generics. Like everybody else has done them. We don't need to do them unless.
Right.
And the one thing with our metal has no lead in it. It's a complete lead-free pewter that we use. And the mixture that we have makes it a very strong pewter. So it's a very strong pewter mix that we use in our metal composition, just to know, because I saw some things in the chat.
Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of silver in it too. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, little silver.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case you got to melt them down for a werewolf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to touch that one right now. That's a little hint. So,
just I saw some things in the chat about maybe how the hobby is shifting back to the OSR style games. And for us, for Arduin, we are looking to do something a little more old school with the new Arduin. So we're not going to try to get more complex. We're going to try to go more streamlined, more adhered to more of a fun system. But I don't want to say it's a simpleton, like a simple system either. It's something that's streamlined, that works well, so it's not that complex. But there's a lot to the game that you can use out of the game. So I can see what you're saying. I think it was Mark who said the comment. It would be nice because the OSR does give you that old school feel. You get all the different permutations of D&D. And to that, there's a reason why we decided to do our own system, is because we didn't want to just be another permutation of D&D. There's so many out there. It's not necessary to have. It's ridiculous. There's variations of variations, and it's like, oh my God. So we did not want to go down that path. We never went down the D20 path 20 years ago, and we weren't about to go down that path now, because we came to the same conclusion that we did now that we did 20 years ago. So we don't want to do that. Arduin needs to be able to stand on its own 2 feet.
Plus, I think it doesn't necessarily do justice to Dave Hargrave and his legacy.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying he didn't, spin it off onto D&D as maybe you could call it the first clone or
right
above it, but he took it to so many different levels that to honor him, it would be best done with a standalone rather than attaching it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why we're committed to the new system and going in that direction. And then with all the support, with the miniatures, the maps, all the material that we'll be coming out with to support it. So that's.
Well, you guys will always have our support. Just anytime you need anything, just you guys know where to go. And I know there's going to be people from this stream as well as other videos we've done coming at you, and other people we've talked about that we both know. You guys are going to have no trouble whatsoever getting this on the lips of all the people out there talking games. This is going to be the next big one.
Well, I appreciate that, Shadow. We're hoping, because when we do that first Kickstarter, which again, we really wanted to do Lancer's Rest for the end of the year. We even put it on our bookmarks, advertising it, but we had to make the real decision that, and this is the first announcement really, is that we're going to postpone it, a few months. But we're just hoping that we get enough backers just to.
No, you won't have to worry about that.
Kickstarter under our belt, really, just to give us the experience with it, and to just basically fund it. I mean, we're not going to go high on the numbers. We're going to keep it low. We're probably going to print it regardless, however many copies we decide to. But just the exposure, and that's really it. Is just trying to get the backing to see what the support level is out there. Like if it's low, then we, maybe we won't go with Kickstarter in the future. Who knows?
Right. And Kickstarter has its issues, and the amount of money that they take. I'm not sure exactly the percentages and things like that, but there's plenty of people out there that absolutely still love Arduin, and there's so many more people that don't know that it's still around, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this tonight, is to remind people this was out there way back in the day for, all us grognards. A lot of us, wondered whatever happened, and if you go look like on eBay or Amazon for the old book, they're the prices are astronomical, and they're that way for a reason. There's a reason why it's $75 to $100 for any one of the trilogy in original print, because they're a huge part of the gaming history. And people still want that feel and that information. And so many people are just going to literally jump for joy when the word gets out, and you guys are doing conventions or whatever advertising you're doing, and people are going to see Arduin, and they're going to go nuts. Trust me, they're absolutely going to love this.
We appreciate that, and that's what we hope, Shadow. So, but we're gonna, regardless, like you said, we're gonna move forward, period, and do the best we can to put Arduin out there, and for Dave, do what we can for him.
I hope you're going to keep putting pictures of him in the books.
They're hard to find.
Yeah, we only have a few, but we're going to continue to do that, whatever we can do.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's that's only fair. It's only right to remind people. Even people who never met him, never saw him before, they'll be able to put a face to the name, when they think about it. Sure, I want people thinking about you guys, but I know you guys want people thinking about him as well.
Yeah, like off the top of our head, he's definitely on Arduin Grimoire 4's cover. I think it's the back cover. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely on the cover of the Vaults of the Weaver module. He's definitely riding the Air Shark, is it not the Air Shark? I think it's the Griffin in our bestiary.
Yeah.
We slip him in as a character every now and then. I think he's in Arduin Grimoire 8 too, and running
he's on the front cover of Vaults of the Weaver.
And he's running from the Xenomorph, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was classic.
We try to stick him in there as much as we can. So again, we try to honor him as much, but he's going to be part of the new books too. We're going to we're coming up with some concepts with the new core books in ABA. We may do something, again, nothing's a definite, where we may have like a side bar on the book and have direct quotes from Dave. Kind of, here's the new rules, but then these are the words from the man himself.
That's
Dave
awesome.
So you have quotes from Dave Hargrave direct in the new books. Yeah, he's going to be a full part of this. We are not doing this, by abandoning Dave at all. He's going to be completely a part of the new books and be given full credit because it's based on all his ideas, direct or indirectly. So he will be a full part of it.
Amazing.
I'm hoping for April, May.
Yeah, I
George
just saw that.
Probably more realistic when he's thinking June, July. I don't know, but I don't think we're really that far off from an April, May situation.
Correct.
Cool.
And that Kickstarter though is for the modules, the four
original modules,
and the Lancer's Rest, and
the new Lancer's Rest module, which mind you has a lot of color art in it, and it's that'll probably be 100 some odd pages is what
between
we're
75 and 100 pages. The other modules are about 25, 30 pages. They're smaller.
And then we're talking about, because we're only going to probably, the likely scenario is just a bundle rather than splitting it up. So we just have it as a quick, easier on us to ship.
Cool.
The other thing is we're going to probably add in that, and I call it the 5th book for the first 4 modules, but it'll also cover for Lancer's Rest, would be all the monsters and treasures that are specifically listed in the trilogy is what we're considering. So we wouldn't even cherry pick what is in the dungeons. We'll just, anything that's in the trilogy is probably just going to be part of that book. That's what we're looking at. And probably the way we're going. It's already compiled, and I think it's going to be doable. I do.
Yeah. We're like I said, we're still in the development phase, but we want to get that first Kickstarter out there with the modules, with the basically 5 modules and the little compendium of creatures and treasures to go with it from the trilogy. So you have that. So, and it's going to be old school. It's going to be statted up, old school Arduin, which is your basic, armor class, hit points, hit dice, bonus to attack. You're basically, you can port it into any flavor of D&D you want. Is basically
we did the ACs where you can either have the escalating down or the escalating up depending on how you play.
Yeah, the one thing we put in there is, so if you're AC 4, but then in parentheses it'll have AC 16, for your so you have your descending and ascending, we put in there. And then most creatures have a dex value, and I know some systems use dexterity, just like Arduin did back in the day.
Right.
Where the countdown, I know 5th edition does that. So we put that in there, but that was in there in the original module. So a lot of it is pretty much old school modules.
Yeah, they're going to be basically similar to the originals. We're not going to add any extras in like we usually do outside of Death Heart, which we're going to put 2 maps, I think it is, that Dave Hargrave drew for Death Heart that didn't go in there.
Oh, okay. That's a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to get some original Hargrave material that never came to be published.
So it's not a lot of extra bonus material for those 4. The real treasure is going to be the fact that we're going to have those available for anybody who wants to, have a copy, as well as the actual cards. Whether we're going to print them right now on the card stock like they originally were, where you cut them out, or whether we're going to put them on actual cards, remains to be decided upon. But it looks like it's going to be the regular cards, so you don't have to cut them out and just have card stock.
Yeah.
And the Lancer's Rest module probably won't have cards for it, but it'll have a lot going on.
I know people like those cards. That was one of the big draws at my table, was getting to walk home with one of those cards, as a new piece of equipment, magical or otherwise. It was it's kind of simple, but it really did feel like something more tangible.
Yeah.
That the big thing, the reason to do this Kickstarter was a lot of people had been asking for the cards. So by redoing the modules and giving them the cards as a part of it, we felt that was something that people would like, and we've gotten the requests. So that'll be the big thing. And again, hopefully it'll be at some point late spring, early summer. And then the big one will be for the rules, which is tentatively scheduled for next year about this point, Christmas. But we won't, again, like I said earlier, we will have a better idea early next year where we are on that.
I remember the whole lead situation when all the companies were converting over to whatever they were calling their metals. Everybody had their own name, trying to make it sound like they had some big proprietary metal, and they all went to the same place. And what they did was they all bitched that they couldn't do it because that judgment came down where supposedly the lead was banned. I think it was a case in New York State, and they said that the lead was poisoning all these kids. And I have an article somewhere. I should post it up one of these days, back from that time frame, because we were casting in lead at that time. And I think it got disproven years later that the kids that they say actually got injured by the lead was they actually lived on their property used to be a federal firing range, so all the land was contaminated. And then companies took that as a stride not to go back, which I don't necessarily think was a bad thing, but they saw that as a reason to up their prices at that time. And I could tell you at that time, pound for pound, it was at least the equivalent. So lead, you might get a cheaper metal and they weighed more, but the cheaper metal, you'd get X quantity. But then the pewter, the lead-free stuff that they were using, it was lighter, so you got a larger quantity came out. So to me, it was
there's also
always offset.
Lead also rots. Lead rots. And when that happens,
lead definitely rots, and I think it's more damaging to the molds. Some of them beat to hell, I can tell you that.
Yeah, pewter's just better anyways.
Yeah, I like the pewter personally. The lead-free pewters. I don't know. Ever since we went to them, I don't regret it. I think it's stronger. It's a little lighter and it's stronger and it's easier to work with. Plus,
and you don't have the bending issues and even the drooping issues. I've got some things that. Some larger ones. I've got the old Superior models. You remember those?
Yeah.
The really big figures. Some of them are just collapsing under their own weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, plus that you're casting them under a lesser temperature too.
Yeah. Well, the pewter to us is superior, so we're not going to be changing anytime soon. We're going to go with the lead-free pewter. So
cool, guys. We made it through the 20 questions without any fist fights or anything like that. This was a lot of fun. I know it's getting late there for you guys.
No problem. I think the only one you only skipped number 16, but that was, I think, a pretty obvious one.
Yeah. Because I wrote it before, honestly, I knew Dave was showing up, and it seemed a little awkward, So,
yeah.
I'm sure he saw that too, and he gets it. Yeah, if you guys aren't best friends by now, then there's something wrong with the world.
Yeah, there's something wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
And I really appreciate you guys coming on here and letting us help you guys out. Hopefully, you guys will get invited to all the other channels. To do the same thing and talk about your product, because it really is, guys. It's damn near my favorite world to visit. Of all the fantasy worlds out there, I can't think of one I'd rather go visit. Yes, it's the one I would probably suffer the most tragic, horrific, horrible, grisly death, but I would still risk it every time. I can't wait to go back and to bring all my friends there and see the wonders of Arduin with my own eyes, so to speak. And I hope all of you guys get the chance to do it. I know the little guys got to get up early in the morning, and you guys are probably cruising up toward the witching hour. If you guys have anything else you guys want to say, I'm going to be putting the promo code that you guys gave us, which was incredibly nice, in the pinned comments, so that everybody can come in, and flood your store with orders.
And there's two of them. We gave you, just so you know, Shadow, there's two of them there. So
okay, one is until the end of the month, and one is till the end of the year.
One is good to the end of the year. The first,
and the other one's good till after Veterans Day, and you can put them all together.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can combine them. You can combine those two and the Veterans Day one. Yep.
Okay, that's sweet, guys.
Yeah, because of Veterans Day. So one's good to the end of this week for Veterans Day, and then the other one goes to the end of the year. So if you order by the end of the week, you get both discounts combined.
That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, I got everything, guys. You
get
guys
those
pump
two,
something
and if
out.
you want to, if you are an actual veteran, you can get the veteran discount too.
That's even better. That's because trust me, a lot of my friends are vets, and I hope they get out there. I'm talking to you, Bruce and Baron, and you guys know who you are. DM James, get out there, get your Arduin stuff by the end of the week, and start reading, and then you can come back and we can share the lore together because, like I said, favorite game world, favorite fantasy world of all time. And I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, Jackie, for playing along. You were a real trooper. And hopefully you'll be here for the next one. Just let me know if you guys have any other new announcements. Let us know. We'll blast it all over the interwebs and TV land. Any last words before we hit the road?
No, thank you guys. And I
Okay,
really appreciate everybody. Anybody who showed up and shows up.
Oh yeah, we had quite a few friends out there. And if you guys want to stick around after the show when I close the broadcast down, we can talk for a little bit.
Sure.
That's how it works. We often have a little chat after the show. But let me bring in George because he just must have had a little technical glitch. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It kind of kicked me out there, but I was just going to say, Jackie, thank you. Good to meet you. Thank you for doing it. Shadow, thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure, guys.
Thank you guys for everything. Thanks, everybody in the chat. We really appreciate it. And, feel free to reach out. We're going to stay in contact, of course. And when we get closer next year with more announcements or the Kickstarter, we'll be more than happy to talk to you again and give you an update with where we're at. But we do appreciate
and we'll still talk on the phone and stuff too, if anything comes up or the help that I can provide in the background. Just let me know.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it.
So from all of us here at Shadow and Sun, and from everybody over there at Emperor's Choice, want to wish you guys a great night, happy holidays, and we'll see you guys all real soon.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Take it easy, everybody.
Good night. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.